Jaguars going to Detroit. We robbed of the Hutchinson versus Trayvon Walker Bowl rematch. Lions are favored by 13.5 here because we're getting Mac Jones again for the Jags. 8-1 Lions against the 2-8 Jaguars.
Yeah, we have been robbed of that direct matchup. We haven't, however, been robbed of Aiden Hutchinson still having more pressures than Trayvon Walker this season.
I mean, Hutch has more than everybody but 5. I think he's 5th in the league still in pressures. Hasn't played since
October the 13th.
Since the Biden administration, we can say.
He hasn't played since October the 13th, and he'd already had his bye week in that spot as well.
Yes, he'd been one of the few players to have a bye at that point. It's a lot of points here. I took Jared Goff. We'll be doing your prize picks lineup in a minute here. I took Jared Goff's projection, more than 230.5, I think it is, in passing yards. I think we're talking so much about his 5-interception game last week. The Lions have been road warriors over these last few weeks. They're back in the dome against a bad Jags defense. I think they're going to remind people.
I mean, this is a huge
who they are.
line.
This
has got to be the biggest line of the season so far, right?
So far. I mean, this is usually the point in the year when, a couple of years ago, remember the Bills had a bunch of these at 14, the Chiefs through the years. It's not rare to get a 14-point line. We just haven't seen many this year, or we haven't seen any, really.
I mean, obviously that performance from Goff was not an indication of what he's been doing this season. It was a bizarre meltdown in terms of some of those throws. Obviously, some of them, the Hail Mary, but some of those were bizarre throws. I do, however, think that this Detroit offense going up against the ill-disciplined Jacksonville defense just has monster production written all over it. I mean, Jacksonville shoots themselves in the foot on defense more than most teams, in addition to having weaknesses just in terms of a personnel, scheme, getting beat the regular ways, right?
Right.
They're going to pile on to that with not being in the right place, and suddenly a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs is out in space with like a blown assignment, and now that's a 75-yard touchdown. Like this, and Ben Johnson will only tilt the scales in his favor as well with his creativity and what they call this could be a massive production from the Detroit offense.
Underrated story this year, I think, as we've talked so much about Hutch and the pressure that he brings. And I thought last year Detroit's coverage unit kind of got beat up a little bit. They have the 3rd best PFF coverage grade. Now that's a lot of Brian Branch making plays, Kirby Joseph making plays, the corners. Terrion Arnold's had his issues as far as penalties go, but Carlton Davis has been a nice addition for them. They've done a really good job on the back end.
Sorry.
Bless you. And offsetting some of the lack of pressure that they get. And look, it's not a complete lack of pressure. Lynn McNeil's still doing some good things up front. It's a good Lions defense, and I think certainly better than it was last year, more consistent than it was last year.
Yeah, we probably missed out on giving Carlton Davis enough credit coming out of that game last week, where he was the guy that jumped the pass to get the called interception that Dan Campbell had. He was also the guy that made up the ground where C.J. Stroud was a mile late on the ball that should have been a touchdown. I mean, okay, it should have been a touchdown, but Carlton Davis was the guy that made up the ground and turned it into an interception on a play that should have been dead and buried. I mean, he had a really impactful game, and he's been a big addition for them.
And we spent this offseason raving about the Lions and all the moves that they made, and they've come good, right? Carlton Davis for a 3? So you've got, and this is before they drafted 2 corners, right? So they said, we're going to solve one of these cornerback spots with an established player for 3. Yes. Bring in DJ Reader to add more beef up front. Bring in Kevin Zeitler to an offensive line whose top 4 starters was already probably the best in the league, and then you add a 5th so that they have that depth up and down the line. They've done just such a good job. Every week we just rave about the Lions and how well they've done. The line is big. I think I might take Jacksonville on this. I don't think Mac Jones is that bad. Like last week they had opportunities to come back and win, and he threw 2 picks. I don't think he's that bad.
No.
So I think they have a chance to maybe keep it close, but man, Lions are the powerhouse right now.
And again, it was the Flores defense thing. Like that had bad outcomes written all over it. No, I think you're right. Mac Jones should look better against Detroit's defense, even with the strengths that they have. I just think that the other side of the ball is going to make it so it doesn't matter.
All right, so you taking Detroit?
God, am I really taking them to cover 2 touchdowns?
I'm almost leaning the other way. I'm over there talking myself into Mac Jones will keep it close for them, but I don't know.
I am taking them to cover 2 touchdowns.
I think I'm changing it. I'm taking Detroit. I'm a little gun shy taking somebody criticized me for taking all the favorites last week.
Yeah?
Yeah.
But it worked for you, didn't it?
I think overall that was about 500. That was
okay.
Decent.
So not hugely, but it did.
We're all taking Detroit. They're a powerhouse team. They're back in the dome, and they're gonna lay it on.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end of our video.
For more great content, click here to subscribe and here to watch another video. We'll see you again soon.